Welcome to your High Vibe Business. I'm Laura DeFranco.
And I'm Donnie Bovine.
And we are here to help you create your badass high vibe business.
What does it mean to have a high vibe business? It's that business you're excited about. It lights you up and it helps you unleash that inner badass and really go for it.
You are a lover and a warrior, and you're here to change the world with your business. We will give you the strategy and resources you need to take this all to the next level.
You shouldn't do this alone. Start hanging out with other badass entrepreneurs and watch how fast your business grows.
You guys, Donnie Bovine runs a successful coaching and speaking business, and he's spent over 2 decades mastering sales.
And Laura DeFranco is an expert healer, 2 times business owner, 6-time published author, and spoken word poet.
Together, we're here to help you create your high vibe business.
All right, kids, another fun episode. Laura and I are going to dive in networking, but we're going to really talk about the confidence behind networking. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Hold on to your butts.
Ready to roll.
There we go.
I need this talk. I know a lot of my healer peeps need this talk too, because they have no fucking idea what they're doing with networking.
Absolutely. So before we totally dive in, let me do this really quick. I'm going to read one review and then we got a show and tell for you guys. So
oh yes, please.
This review on Apple Podcast is from G-Rott. So Gerott. It says the 2 of them, Laura and Donnie, are great. They bring a lot of clarity and practical advice you can use right away and see some results. Keep it going.
Yeah.
Thank you, G-Rott. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah, that's a good name.
So what's our show and tell, Laura?
Yay, the book came, you guys. OMG. I wish you could be here to feel this cover. We've got these places where you're workshopping your stuff right in the book. It's absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to say a very quick thank you to Christy Collins of Constellation Book Services for the cover and interior design. She has made my books really, really beautiful. You guys are going to really dig this book.
Yeah, totally. I mean, not only does it feel cool, but I don't remember the last time I actually had a workbook. I mean, for me, it's been like high school since I've had one to go through. This is really, really cool and really well put together. And I really like how you and I went back and forth in this thing, you know, giving kind of the both sides our opinions. Because in some areas we completely agreed. Some areas we definitely went off the rails on each other's thoughts and opinion, which makes it fun. So people get to learn 2 styles. So guys, go to Amazon and get your High Vibe Business, the workbook, the strategic workbook for badass entrepreneur success. So go check it out.
It's awesome. I'm proud of that book. It's making a difference in some people's lives already. We've got some great reviews up on Amazon already too. Thank you guys. If you're listening and you were on the launch team, thank you a million times.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we were having a fun discussion. We were going to talk about networking in general, and it came around to this idea of confidence in networking. And I started off and said, you know, confidence is a myth. It's not something that you lack. You don't lack confidence, you lack experience. But let's talk about this in a networking aspect. How do we help people get out, and why should they network?
Well, when you brought it up at first, because of course this is about your business development.
Right.
But I was sitting here thinking, crap, when I first went out to do this business development, but I wasn't calling it that back then, I lacked confidence. This was like my own personal story about myself. I can kind of tell you that story because I didn't have a certain feeling about this walking into doing it, but I was an action taker. So you actually circled me back around to the fact that I thought, okay, it was the action. It wasn't the lack of confidence, because I surely had that.
Right.
At least I felt I did. It was more about the action. So why do we need a network? Oh my God, you know, if you have a business, you need to meet people. This world, 7 billion people on the planet, there's a plethora of people to meet that could catapult your business in so many different ways you don't even realize how. Right? And you've taught me, Donnie, that you're not networking to sell. That's the biggest deal here, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's 100%. I mean, people have such a taboo around sales in general that they carry that over into other activities. Networking is not sales. Let's clear that up really, really, really quick. It is not sales. It is not selling. It is getting to know people. When you think about networking, don't think about it as a thing to sell your goods and wares. Think about it as a thing to get to know people so that those people you get to know will open doors for you.
You guys, this could be transformational if you slow down and think about this for a second. I'm going to back you up. I want you to go way slower because I think people are like riding this train and they're hearing something completely transformational. So I don't want to go too fast.
Sure.
Networking is not sales. Like this one sentence will change your entire business world.
So everybody needs to understand sales is the sit down conversation with somebody who's agreed to meet to look at your products and services and decide to move forward. Right? At what point during a cocktail happy hour lunch meeting with a bunch of people are you sitting down and looking at that room going, buy my stuff? Right? What you're doing is you're going to make friendships, you're going to make relationships, you're getting to know people and getting them to agree to come sit down to have a get to know you conversation with the sole purpose of seeing if you guys can build enough trust with each other to be able to open the door for each other into your secondary Rolodex. Because if I go into those meetings trying to sit down with somebody to, like, Laura, if you and I met at an event and I said, hey, I love your vibe, I love your energy, I love what you do, we should talk about me coaching you. And we had just met, how's that conversation going to go over?
Yeah, not well.
Right, right. But if I said, hey, tell me more about your business, and we hit it off, I'm like, why don't we go grab a cup of coffee? A Zoom call later. I'd love to get to know more about you and what you're doing. And then go down into that whole conversation with, at that point, Laura's still not a prospect. I don't know anything about her, right? And I don't want to put her in a prospect category because then I'll take that, here's your woo-woo, that negative energy into that coffee conversation, and I'll blow that coffee conversation versus building a lifelong, partner that can open a lot of doors for me.
Well, that I was going to say that. Did you guys feel the energy shift in the two scenarios that Donnie just talked about? Like you go into it and right away say, hey, we should talk about me coaching you. Like that has an energy to it. And it's like not great, But the second, my internet, I think, is a little unstable today. Sorry, guys. The second scenario is way easier, lighter, way more fun. Like, hey, let me just get to know you. Like, there's this thing sort of in life that I love. It's kind of like a motto of mine. It's never too late to make a best friend. And I think that's true in life and in business, right? It's, you never know who you're going to meet and what role they're going to play in your life moving forward. So I love to go out into the world thinking that way.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I can hear the introverts listen to this as, oh God, they're talking about networking again.
Yeah.
And they're having kind of this freak out moment. Guys, hear me out. Most people tell me they lack confidence to go start these conversations, or they lack confidence to do anything. Guys, it's not a lack of confidence. It's a lack of action taking. It's a lack of experience. It's a lack of doing the tactical thing you need to be doing in your business. So I've got a client that I coached through all this when I was doing sales training, and I won't say his name because I know he listens to the show. But when him and I first started hanging out and we'd go to events together, this dude would sit on the wall, and I'd bring people over to him, and I couldn't get him to get off the wall until one day he looked at me and goes, "All right, how do I do this? How do I meet people? Why am I coming to all these events and nothing's happening?" And I simply told him, just go get 2 contacts. He goes, that's it? I just got to get 2 contacts? I said, well, yeah, set an appointment with 2 people in the room. Go up, say hello, and get somebody to go have coffee with you. And it's a simple art of him taking that action. Then the confidence kicked in, right? Because he had a purpose to do something. He knew what the action was to take. So for you guys, don't think about, I can't do this because I'm a wallflower, introverted, whatever else. Think about it is, okay, what's the next action I need to take? Then guts kick in, have some guts, reach down and go say hi to somebody. And that's everything.
Yeah, it's most likely going to be a gift for that other person that you are starting the conversation with too, because you never know what other introvert you're talking to. So like, it's funny, you're giving me a reminder of a couple conversations I had with my two teenagers early on in the social game. And it was basically, I was just coaching them to ask people questions.
Mm.
Because I have one, my older one is shy. It's tough for him to meet people. You know, he's off in college now, and that's a little easier in college, but not a lot easier if you don't practice, which is one of our points that we're making today. But that's what I would say. Like, just go find somebody and ask them a question about themselves. People love talking about themselves, and that'll be the icebreaker. And then hopefully that person will be smart enough to ask you some questions too, you know?
Right. Well, and I think it's fun to kind of go through some of the questions they can use because, being an extroverted guy, that it does, I do have some introverted tendencies. I was not, I didn't understand the introverts needing something to actually be told what to say. So it was very hard for me to wrap my head around that. So, a couple of questions you guys can use, and some of my favorite ones is, where'd you come from today? Where'd you
Yeah,
drive in from?
I
You
use
know,
that one. I love
or
that one.
and stay away from the business. What do you do for business for as long as possible? It's going to come up, right? It's going to
Yeah,
come up, but stay away from it. So another one you can use is, why'd you pick this event?
that's a good one.
And a
Yeah.
third one that I really really like is, what's the most significant thing that's happened in your life that you're just excited about,
Mm.
right? And what you do with all these questions is, it's like you're putting a spotlight on them to give them 2 seconds to step into their moment, feel good that they're not being sold, because that's what makes all the nervous energy come out of people, is they feel like they're being
Yes.
sold, and allows you to get a dialogue going.
Well, that's actually where I want to kind of slow you down again, is because let's just, for sake of the argument, go to that place where somebody does have a moderate amount of social anxiety, the nerves. And like, you're trying to help people past a very visceral feeling that is real for them, and yet they've got a business, they know they need to be doing these things, they are willing to learn about it, and they're willing to take that action. But that's a real feeling, and that's kind of, when we were talking earlier, that was kind of where I wanted to ask you about, like, what's the tactic there? I know practice is part of it.
Sure. Start the conversation with the people that you first walk in the door with. Right. So one of the funniest things that I got my introverts to do is get to know the people selling the tickets to the event. The ones working at the table right when you walk in the door.
Yes.
Walk in and practice your questions you're going to use on the room with them. And you'll be surprised, because they're going to look at you like you got two heads, right? But you walk up and you're like, hey, thanks for my ticket. Why are you guys working this event?
Where did you come in
Where'd you come
from
from,
today?
right? Practice those
Yeah.
things. And what it does is, it gives you a quick, in the moment, non-threatening way to ask a fun question. And then it's a matter of playing the game of, how many times can I try this question? Right? How many times can I, and look, your whole goal really of networking is to build a team of champions. What I mean by a team of champions is a team of people that will go and open doors for you. That they're so into you, your message, your company, your brand, that they want to brag and tell other people how awesome you are. So if you go into it with that energy of, I'm just trying to get people to understand how awesome I am in my businesses, because each one of you that are listening have a badass business, right? You got into this to change the world and lives. So don't go into that room to sell those people. They are not your prospects. Go into that room to make the champions.
Your networking events are not for selling. They're for business development, which is what you're talking about, the relationships. Now, I'm assuming you're going to say, Well, if you make a sale, great.
Of course.
Like, okay, because that does happen. Like, I
Of
don't want to
course.
tell people that they're not going to do that, because you never know. Like, you could go into a room with a couple of your books on the table and somebody like runs over and looks at it and says, I want that. And you're like, okay, give me $20, you know?
Yeah. But
So it happens.
yeah, I mean, what I want people to understand is, there's weekly meeting networking that happens and all this stuff. And people look at those type of events, the after hours, the breakfasts, the lunches, all that. They're looking at that room as that room is their prospect. That room is not your prospect. The people sitting around the table are not your prospects. I promise you, you'll close more deals with that room individually and get more of those people to come out with your services if they're not your prospects. Because you already have them disqualified in your mind, you come across as non-salesy and not as a threat.
There are
Right?
possibilities of people of connection.
Yes,
So
it's
yeah.
that trust, right? Because you're not coming across as that greaseball sales guy, right? Now you get to know each other and get to build that level of trust in there, right? So it's a matter of go in, because what has more power? You trying to sell the person you're sitting across from, or that person you're sitting across from saying, hey, I know somebody who absolutely needs your services. Let me make that introduction. Right? It's a
Yeah.
different way, a different phrase, but most people are so focused on selling the people in front of them versus getting to their secondary line.
Well, isn't the most brilliant thing in the world when someone else sells for you?
Mm.
Someone else sells you and your products and your services and your workshops or whatever they are, and you're just like standing by going, wow. And so that's your champion. You
Yep.
know, when you build people who can talk about you and what you do. What is it? Is it the term about branding? Is that what other people say you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Marketing and advertising is what you say you do. Branding is what other people say you do.
I love that piece.
Yeah, and this
Yeah.
is exactly that, because
Hmm.
as you're building these champions, these other people that will lift you up. I mean, so for instance, in my Facebook group not too long ago, somebody put a post in there, hey, I'm fixing to do a lot of international travel. Who can help me with airlines and hotel stays?